welcome to today's On This Day in Tudor History. I'm Claire Ridgway. I'm a researcher of Tudor history and also writer of several history books, including some on the Boleyn family and this one, On This Day in Tudor History, which has inspired these daily videos where I bring to you an event from the Tudor period, such as an awful execution or a battle or a birth, death, marriage. You name it, I have them for you. Now, the 15th of March. I might not like the persecutions of Mary I's reign. In fact, I might not like several things about Mary I. But sometimes she really does appeal to me. Sometimes there are times where I think, I quite like you in some respects. She could be a real tough cookie at times and very stubborn, very defiant and courageous as well. And today in history, it's one of those times where I think, yes, you had something about you. I quite admire you. For it was on this day in Tudor history, the 15th of March, 1551, in the reign of her half-brother, King Edward VI, that Mary caused a bit of a stir in London when she went riding through the streets of London. Now, merchant, tailor and diarist Henry Machyn, I'm not sure whether I'm pronouncing that right, whether it's Machin or Machin, but he gives an eyewitness account of the event. And actually his diary is brilliant reading. It's a really good primary source, although there are bits of it that are damaged and bits missing. But he wrote, "The 15th day, the Lady Mary rode through London unto St. John's, her place, with 50 knights and gentlemen in velvet coats and chains of gold afore her, and after her 80 gentlemen and ladies, every one having a pair of beads of black. She rode through Cheapside and through Smithfield." Now these beads, they weren't just beads. These beads were, of course, rosaries, the rosaries of the Catholic faith. And a note in the diary of Henry Machyn by historian John Strype notes that the carrying of rosaries by Mary and these 50 knights and gentlemen and 80 gentlemen and ladies through the streets of London was to make an open profession, no doubt, of their devotion for the Mass. And the carrying of these beads, these rosaries, during Edward's Protestant reign was definitely a statement. It was a huge statement. Mary was the king's half-sister. And this was a huge statement because the use of rosaries had been banned by Edward's government. So a really big statement, a really big act of defiance from Mary and her household. As historian Gary G. Gibbs points out, this entry occurred at the height of Mary's conflict with Edward's government over her observance of the outlawed Roman Mass in her chapel. And he goes on to say that here Mary came to the capital clearly in the style of the heir to the throne, the wealthiest woman in the land, a daughter of 2 royal houses, and she and each of the participants in this royal procession wore a rosary. It was a dramatic protest against her brother's government. It would have caused scandal in the city of London, really. 2 days later, on the 17th of March 1551, Mary rode to court, the royal court at Westminster, and she dined with the king, her brother. Edward recorded the meeting he had with Mary in his journal, which is another good primary source. "The Lady Mary, my sister, came to me at Westminster, where, after salutations, she was called with my council into a chamber, where was declared how long I had suffered her mass against my will, in the hope of her reconciliation, and how now being no hope, which I perceived by her letters, except I saw some short amendment, I could not bear it. She answered that her soul was God's, and her faith she would not change, nor dissemble her opinion with contrary doing. It was said I constrained not her faith, but I wished her not as a king to rule, but as a subject to obey, and that her example might breed too much inconvenience. So this situation was stalemate, really. You've got the king trying to stop Mary doing all this, and Mary defiantly saying no. Although Mary assured the king that she would always be his humble, obedient, and unworthy sister, there was absolutely no way that Mary was going to compromise her faith. God and the fate of her eternal soul were far more important, far more of a priority than her brother, his government, and their laws, which she saw as heresy. So it's when I read accounts like this, these accounts in the primary sources, the sources from that time, that I just get some insight into Mary, and it's a side of her that I really quite like. I admire her courage, her conviction, her strength of faith, her stubborn side, her defiance, and the way that she really stands up to her brother, the king. This courage would, of course, come to the forefront again in July 1553, when she rallied men to her cause against Queen Jane, Lady Jane Grey, and her government. And that's another time where I really admire Mary. But obviously later there are quite a few things that, I don't like about her and I can't condone. But it just gives you another side to the Mary that's so often only known as Bloody Mary. So that was today, on this day in Tudor history, 15th of March 1551. Mary, who was at the time Lady Mary, not Queen Mary, rode through London and caused a bit of a stir. Now, I'll be back tomorrow with another On This Day in Tudor History event for you. You can subscribe to the channel by clicking there and hit the bell to be notified as well. Thank you for watching, and do share your views on Mary in comments on this video. I'd love to read them. Take care. Bye-bye.